Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So I have been doing a terrible job of reading and documenting for you all. I have been in a mega reading slump, unfortunately, just with everything going on in my life, and my favorite genre to read is romance, and I am so struggling in the romance department right now. So you can definitely tell which books I read before I went through a breakup and which books I read after. I'm going to combine the few books that I have read in January and February and get it documented and on here. I do have a goal to read 100 books this year. I definitely need to pick up the pace with that. The first book that I read was in January. This was my first book of 2022, and this is The Deal. I feel like I have seen this book everywhere, and it's about two people in college and hockey, and I play hockey. I love hockey, so I figured a romance book about hockey, I have to read that. This book is about Hannah and Garrett. And so Hannah and Garrett go to the same college, and Hannah is really smart and she's a singer. And so Garrett is a hockey player who needs to keep grades in order to stay on the team. And they have a class together, so Hannah agrees to tutor Garrett. And so that's what this book is about. It's a deal. This book is about the deal of Hannah tutoring Garrett. And in exchange, Garrett is going to help Hannah date this boy who she has a big crush on. So that's what this book is about, and it totally is kind of not as much enemies, but they weren't like friends and to lovers, obviously. So that's what this book is about. I really liked this book. Okay, so on Goodreads, I gave The Deal a 4, but I would really give it a 4.5 if I had to give ratings. It was just a little predictable at parts, but overall I really liked the story and I liked how they wrapped everything up at the end. The second book that I read is my new favorite book. This is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This book made my nerd heart so freaking happy. I am a total nerd at heart. I've always loved school. I've always aspired to continue education. And this book is about Olive and Adam Carlson, who is a professor. Olive is a PhD candidate, and starts off by explaining how they've met before, but they don't remember it, or at least Olive doesn't. And Olive ends up going to college, going to get her PhD. It's kind of a complicated situation where she dated this boy who she didn't really like romantically, and her best friend and him like each other, but her best friend and him won't date because of her, and they want to make sure that she has really moved on before they date each other. So she's trying to convince her best friend that she's in a happy relationship and wants her friend to date that boy. And then she meets Adam Carlson. So she tells her friend to meet her in the lab, and she sets it up that she starts kissing somebody totally random to make her best friend think that she's in a relationship with somebody else. So then what happens is Adam and Olive both would benefit from being in a relationship because Adam needs grant money, but they think that he's going to move schools, so they're not giving him the money. And she wants a relationship so that her friend can be happy and be in her own relationship. So then they end up dating. And it's just about how obviously they turn to lovers throughout the story. But this story had really good twists and turns that I did not see coming. And that is my favorite, is when I'm surprised as a reader. And it also just had so many beautiful moments between Olive and Adam. On page 255, this book gets extremely steamy, and this book just had everything. It had love, it was funny, it had spice, it had everything that I was looking for in a book. 5 out of 5 stars, my favorite book that I've read. The next book that I read is The Old Man and the Sea. So I decided to read this book after going through a breakup. Ernest Hemingway, obviously fan favorite and iconic. So I wanted to read this book. It's been on my list for a while, and it was kind of hard for me to get through it, not gonna lie. And when I was done, I was like, really? That was it? But then I started to digest it. I started to think about the meaning behind it, and it's actually so beautiful. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars just because like in the moment I did not like the book, but reflecting on it and reading discussions about it made me really, really admire it. I was actually like really disappointed in this book until I went on Goodreads and I saw somebody's comment, and I'm just gonna read you the end of what he said because it really stuck with me and changed my entire perspective of the book. So he left a really big review basically summarizing The Old Man and the Sea. And The Old Man and the Sea is about this old man, and he kind of cares for this kid who also goes fishing. They go fishing every day and he kind of shows them the ropes. They create this bond together. And then the old man goes out to sea and ends up having this giant fight with a huge fish. He's cutting it piece by piece to survive. And it's just kind of the story of him out at sea with this fish that he's killed. And so this is what the end of this Goodreads review says. It says, age teaches you a lot of things. You start to realize that you might never be the person you thought that you'd be as a child. Days go by, you start to lose more and gain less. I thought about this as I thought about the old man raging, like Dylan Thomas against the night, an old man nearing the end of his days fighting against nature, time, death, a fish, able to boil all things down into one climactic struggle on the high seas. At the end, he did not succeed, at least not in the manner that he'd foreseen, but he was, in an imitatable way, victorious. This book was just very interesting to me because it shows being happy about the little things and the accomplishments that you can make and having the people around you who you need. And it's just boils down to the core of adventure and living life to the fullest. After reading other discussions, I really actually enjoyed the book because of the message it has, not necessarily the writing. It's a pretty short read. It's only over 100 pages. I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. I originally gave it 3, and then when I did some more investigating, 4. The last book that I read, I actually didn't read, I listened to it because it was read aloud by the one and only Matthew McConaughey, and that would be his book called Green Lights. So when I did my trip to Utah, I went on Audible and I bought the Green Lights book because it was read by him, and I've heard him on the Calm app and his voice is just like, so I wanted to listen to him read his own book, and he did such a good job. He sounded so well spoken. He had a crazy life that I never knew about, and I didn't realize his struggles and the things that he went through, but he is just an all-around amazing person, and I love him. So that book is about all of the green lights that we get in life that let us continue on and get towards our goals. And he makes a lot of references towards yellow or red lights that he encountered in his life and how he turned them into green lights to progress in life. So that was really awesome. I loved his metaphors and the way that he talked about how life, you make it a green light. He starts off the book with a quote about, I'll say feces, I guess, just in case. But that quote, I heard it and I was like, I cannot wait to get through this book. I can tell I'm in for a treat. Green Lights, definitely 5 out of 5, just because I loved hearing about his life, and hearing him read it was so soothing and beautiful. So Matthew McConaughey, 5 out of 5. Those are all of the adult books that I've read in the past couple months, which is kind of sad. I definitely want to read more. I've just been kind of caught in my own thoughts a lot recently, where sitting down with a book isn't as relaxing as it was a couple of months ago. So I'm really trying to get out of that slump and get back into it. But what I have done is I actually enrolled in one of the local community colleges in a children's literature class. I'm doing it as part of my teaching certificate stuff and just more goals that I have to get more endorsements. So I am trying to get the K-8 reading endorsement, and so I'm taking children's literature. So even though I haven't read that many adult books, I have read so many kid books the past couple of months. I've read so many picture books, and the 2 chapter books that are big for this class are Charlotte's Web, which is like an OG, definitely 5 out of 5 stars. The message is so beautiful in that. And the other one was Julie of the Wolves, which I had never read this book before. I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. I got so bored trying to read it, and there was a lot of figurative language, which I can understand why it would be good as a kid's book to teach that. But the overall story just didn't really do it for me. I've read a lot of other kids' books through this class, but I don't know if that would be as interesting to you guys. So those are the books that I read for January and February. I'm really excited for March to get to reading more, and I will definitely make another video to keep you guys updated. Let me know if there are any books that you think that I should read next to get me out of my reading slump. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I will see you on the next one.